These are the best days of our lives. Raise your glasses high. This one's for you tonight.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode number 18 of the SUR Files. It is usually the nefarious one, Brother Adam, aka Joshie Lopez, rocking to you live on a Thursday night. It's July 16th, 2026. It'll be July 17th, as you'll be hearing this tomorrow, Friday morning. As always, each and every single edition of the SUR Files is dropped each and every single Friday anywhere you get your podcasts from. Like I said, I'm Joshie. You can hit me up on X at The Hoots Podcast. Instagram, I'm at Josh Lopez Music. And most importantly, make sure to hit us up in our ever-growing TikTok page at SUR Files. That's SUR Files. And also for those who are checking us out on YouTube, we appreciate the support as we're on the road to 100,000 subscribers. Join the movement, the VPR SUR Files movement. We're growing each and every single week. We're on YouTube at the SUR Files. Check it out. That's where you get all our audio podcasts. I'm going to be doing some more video work eventually. Don't worry. We're also going to be sharing the reviews for House of Stassi on that channel. And also, when the time permits during the fall, we'll actually redo our full watch along and recap of the franchise that is Vanderpump Rules from the beginning all the way through season 11. I hope you guys are doing good. This has been a very cathartic week in the world of Bravo. I mean, if you're living under the rock, it's definitely that case. My phone has been blowing up nonstop for the last 2 weeks. I can't thank you guys enough for the support you've given the TikTok page, especially. We just reached 10,000 followers on Tuesday, and we're very close, 23,000 likes away from getting to 1 million likes on TikTok. Unfortunately, I found out today that we cannot get into the creator rewards program because a lot of the concept and what the page is mostly centered around is me finding these old clips and scenes for the show. So unfortunately, TikTok's telling me that at the moment I can't make money for the page because most of my content is unoriginal content. And I understand it to a certain extent, but you have content creators that are doing the same thing that I'm doing and using movie scenes and stuff like that, and they're making money, but that's neither here or there. But more importantly, again, I'm blown away by the support for this concept, for this project, for this page, for the podcast itself. The fact that I see the numbers each week were getting better, and the rollout on our partner for Odyssey Creator Lab for having us on their platform. That's the home of the SUR Files is Odyssey. You can check out the podcast on Odyssey Podcast if you like. It's pretty cool. You can listen to your favorite sports radio station, and you could drop in the SUR Files right after that. So type in the SUR Files on Google, and it'll direct you to everywhere you need to go. So there's a lot to discuss this week. Not only are we closing in onto the final 2 episodes of this regular season of The Valley before we get into the reunion. You guys see the title of this week's episode, and I've been having fun with coming up with ideas for the thumbnails. I'm not a big advocate of AI or ChatGPT, but I am in the business of being transparent and admit that I'm not the greatest graphic designer in the world, and I'm not trying to insult artists. The only times that I have used ChatGPT has been to create the thumbnails for this podcast, and that's pretty much it. I don't use it for anything else, but it's been fun using that for the thumbnails because I could put in different information about the episode that we're talking about, and for the most part, these thumbnails come out really, really good, and I like the flow that we have with these thumbnails, and they stand out, but I don't want that to be the only takeaway from when you listen to the podcast. There's a lot of thought and nuance that goes into it, and it's a lot of time and dedication I'm putting to the side besides my regular work throughout the week to try to make this another source of revenue for me and a chance to take my media career to the next level. I don't know what this project is going to do for me in the next couple, 2-3 years or whatever. I hope maybe a big opportunity could come out of this, but the fact that we're growing an awesome community and the fact that I get to have the rare chance to interact with people who have been on these shows and seeing who likes the stuff and things like that is really, really humbling. I had no idea how this was going to work out when I agreed to start this project back in October. And here we are in July, getting ready for August. It's almost a full year of this. And I've had a lot of change and transition in my life in the last 7 months. But I think one thing that's kept me whole during, things not working out for me in Florida and coming back home to Chicago is the fact that this project is taking off so well, and it's been going gangbusters. I'm literally blown away for the fact that almost 1 million people have liked the videos that we've put up on the channel. And I get it. I get TikTok's rules, understand that, and I understood that this was going to come into an issue, understanding that I'm resharing unoriginal content. I'm not trying to take anything away from Bravo or NBCU. I want to make that perfectly clear. I started this project because Vanderpump Rules is a very important franchise to a lot of people who enjoy reality television, especially Bravo. And while I have a lot of respect for the Housewives franchise, I think it's shows like Vanderpump Rules and The Valley that make Bravo what it is. And while you could call it a niche form of entertainment, Vanderpump Rules fandom, from what I've been learning over the last 2 or 3 years now, getting into this space and being a fan of Bravo content, reminds me a lot of the profession that I'm mostly known for in my career in the media is covering professional wrestling. And it has a deep, passionate fan base. And you guys who take time out of your day to check out the videos that I share, I see all the comments on TikTok, on the YouTube channel, and it just means the world to me. So I thank all of you for giving me a chance to try something new. We're getting a chance to get to know each other with every single episode that we record a podcast. But I just had to come here and express my gratitude because it's just awesome to see where we're at right now compared to what I thought it was going to be. I put an end to a big chapter of my broadcasting career this past January with the end of my first podcast, the Hoots podcast, which we ended up with 500 episodes. And the fact that we're already close to 20 for this new project is it's awesome, man. I'm very, very happy and very blessed. This project has meant a lot to me, and I hope you guys are noticing the effort that I'm putting into the TikTok page, and especially this podcast as well, and try and be consistent with it. So from the bottom of my heart, again, thank you guys so much. Before we get into our recap that we usually do with the Valley, I'd be remiss without talking about the big headline news that dropped on Monday, right before I was going to cover Monday Night Raw. The news of Jax Taylor and his publicist and Brittany Cartwright's former publicist, Lori Kravitz, revealed on TMZ that they are in a relationship now and dating. And this has created an uproar throughout the Bravo sphere. And not only that, but it's gotten to the point where the Hollywood Reporter mentioned the other day that cameras are being backed up for this season of The Valley, even though the reunion is already shot. So cameras are already being backed up to document this whole situation. And I don't know what that tells you about the season in The Valley. I don't know if this news and the fact that cameras are being picked back up is shining the light on this season being bad or disappointing. I don't feel that way. I feel like this season has been good, despite my indifference and growing disdain for the Mean Girls Club versus Danny and Nia. all that aside, like I have enjoyed covering the Valley this season and getting to watch it in real time. Like I didn't have this opportunity with VPR. Literally, guys, the first time I watched Vanderpump Rules was literally the last episode because it was on my 30th birthday. I had nothing going on Tuesday night, and I was just flicking through my TV, and it popped up with seeing the girl that I saw on Love Island, Ariana, storming off. Like I literally, like the my first VPR experience was watching the last 10 minutes of the last episode of Vanderpump Rules season 11. So think about that. That's 2024. Here we are in 2026. I've never had the opportunity to really sit down and watch and cover a Bravo show like this. You know, I wanted to do that with season 12 of Vanderpump Rules. And I liked the reboot cast, and shout out to Natalie McGuire. She's pretty dope. And Audrey and Angelica and the crew for the new cast, and I'm excited for them to get it going again from season 13 whenever they start filming that again. But I was a little busy getting ready for my move to Florida, so I couldn't dedicate the time that I wanted to covering season 12 the way I wanted. And it wasn't towards any diss towards the new cast, because I thought they did a good job. I really did. But to have this opportunity to watch the Valley in real time and watch the after shows and the effort that I do to pump out the content for the Valley throughout the week to get people anticipated and sharing the sneak peek clips for the following week's episodes, all of that, it's just been a fun experience. I've never done anything like this in my life. Most of my media career has been based on recording a podcast and writing transcripts. I'm a writer by trade. I wrote the mini book. You guys can see it on our YouTube channel if you're listening right now. I wrote a mini book about Scandival. I was really, the two things I was really putting my time to when I first started this project was getting the audio book for the Scandival book that I wrote, and then also getting myself ready to move to Florida. Those last couple months I was in Chicago. And here we are in the midst of a really, really hot summer, and things are really kicking up to high gear towards these last couple episodes of Valley. And I think this season has been good. Has this had its disappointing parts? Has it been times where you feel like it's not going anywhere because it's been the same topic over and over and over again? Absolutely. But this news with Jax and Lori getting together, I was shocked. Like, I didn't know that they had rumors, speculation about them having relations at a bar a couple years ago in Canada. I didn't know anything about that until this week. So I'm not going to come in here and like throw a parade for Jax. Like, this is a sensitive topic. Obviously, Lori was representing both Jax and Brittany at the same time. And I'm sure there's a lot of deep emotions that are going on here. So when I'm talking about this, I want to come here and show compassion and empathy towards Brittany, because I don't know how she's feeling at this moment. I listened to what Lala had to say about the situation on her podcast this week, where she called both Jax and Lori bottom feeders. This is a very delicate situation. I have mentioned before that I do feel like Jax deserves grace, and a lot of people need to forgive themselves for their resentment towards the guy, and the guy needs his opportunity to give himself the space to forgive himself for the mistakes that he's made in his life, and he's openly expressed that even before he left the Valley and he was doing his podcast and he went on a hiatus. I followed along with Jackson's journey once he left the show, because I am entertained by the guy from a wrestling entertainment perspective, but at the same time, I understand that he was making a lot of mistakes in his life and he needed to basically get his shit together. And I agree with that. But I'm also one of those people that, even though if somebody does something that I don't agree with fundamentally, I'm not going to shun them out of my life. and I think people deserve empathy and grace. And obviously, it was very obvious that he was letting his demons get the best of him and his addictions. And obviously, he had a lot of things to sift through and work out in his life because he has a beautiful son to look out for, and he needs his dad in his life. So I have been one of the people in the Bravo media space to really champion Jax and share his positive things on the TikTok page, because it's important. And I think that while a lot of people have a lot of their resentments towards Jax, justified or not, I still look at Jax from a human level. We all make mistakes. We're not perfect. It's also one of the reasons why I've always been a Tom Sandoval fan, irregardless of the whole Sandoval situation. Obviously, he shouldn't have cheated on Ariana Mannix. That's just one of the dumbest decisions to make on God's green earth. But again, people make mistakes, and I think nobody in in the Bravo fandom world or in general in life should have this stance to cancel people or don't have the opportunity to let them grow and forgive themselves and get back to a good place in their life. So this is a very delicate situation because, like, yeah, I could understand 100% completely why Brittany would feel betrayed with trust from Lori for the fact that she was her publicist and she knew Jax very well in the situation that he was in, and that could be a big spit in the face to her. At the same time, you can't compare this to Amanda Battaglia and Wes Wilson. I know it's Amanda Battaglia, but every time I hear that Dave Portnoy say her name, Amanda Battaglia, it just makes me laugh. Like, you can't compare this to Wes and Amanda from Summer House, and you can't compare this to Scandal. I think this is a completely different situation. I don't know what they're going to go about this, how they're going to go about this with bringing cameras back. I don't know if they're just going to add an extra episode after the reunion to get the cast's like thoughts on the whole situation, maybe like a special or something like that. But Jax didn't film anything for season 3 of The Valley. But at the same time, he was mentioned on every single episode. So I would be remiss without talking about this topic because it's very prevalent to what we talk about on the podcast each week. I come on here and give you my thoughts on my life, and then we recap this week's edition of The Valley, which we're going to in a couple minutes. But it's just like, I had to talk about this. Everybody's talking about this right now. I'm just, more than anything, I'm happy for Jax that he's in a good place in his life and that he's past a year and a half of sobriety. And it looks like he's getting his shit together and he's in a better like mind frame and everything. And I'm happy for him. You know, this situation, there's pros and cons, obviously. But, you know, if he's happy with this relationship that he has with Lori, I don't really have a leg to stand on to look at it otherwise, you know, like at the same time, I have empathy for Brittany, and I can understand why she would be upset about this situation 100%. I really do. So it's really tough, man. I don't know how they're going to go about covering this topic. Interested. It's piqued my interest for sure. But I don't want this Jax news to take away from what the season is. I don't want this to be like, oh, see, this season of The Valley was a failure because they had to make a special about Jax, even though the reunion was already filmed. I think there's been a lot of good things that have come out of this season of The Valley as a whole. And once the reunion's over and everything's done with that, we're going to do a deep dive and talk about the state of The Valley and where it's at and where things could go from season 4. But I feel like I wouldn't be doing my due diligence here as a Bravo content creator and a media member without talking about this topic with Jackson, because it's pertinent to the show and it's very important to talk about. So all that being said, that's my initial thoughts on everything that's going on with Jackson, the news with him revealing his relationship with Lori Kravitz, his publicist. They showed pictures of the couple together in Mexico this week on TMZ. It's just wild news, man. It's wild, wild news. But on that note, when we come back, we'll get into my recap of The Valley Season 3, Episode 16, dubbed Balls Voyage. Get ready for it, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot to discuss in the episode this week. And don't forget, as always, as we do here on the SUR Files, we give you one half of the Valley After Show podcast. So you'll hear from the cast itself, and they talk about certain topics from this episode of the Valley. So sit back, relax, strap it down, as Hawk Harrelson would say. We'll be right back with our review of the Valley, Episode 16, Season 3. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the SUR Files. It's Joshie here. Are we all right? How are you guys feeling so far? You guys doing well? As always, for those who are checking us out on YouTube or even on the Spotify page or anywhere you get this podcast from, in the comment section down below, don't forget to do me a couple of favors. As always, hit the like button and smash the subscribe button on YouTube as we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. But also hit the follow button and subscribe button, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or even on Odyssey, the home of the SUR Files. And I'd love to hear from you guys. Hit us up in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. We are talking about The Valley Season 3, Episode 16, Balls Voyage. The cast is back from their Mexico trip of birthdays and arguments and pot stirring and everything in between. And this episode left me with a lot of different emotions. Some good, some confusing, and some kind of sad too. This episode hit a lot of different heartstrings for me because one of the themes was Jasmine and Melissa's engagement party. And one things that I share with my passion and love for Bravo is that in reality TV is that my sister Alex and her high school sweetheart Candace are also fans of the Valley, and they are part of the LGBTQ community, and they live in Sacramento, and they've been with each other for somewhere close around 13 or 14 years now, which is crazy to think. But they've been with each other for a very long time, and they've been living out in California for over a decade now. And I watching this episode on Wednesday, and seeing Jasmine and Melissa's engagement party, and even Jasmine trying on wedding dresses, it hit in my heartstrings because I miss my sister. I have a real bond with my big sister Alex, and I miss her a lot. I miss her like everyday presence. I miss her busting my chops or her treating me like she's my mom. You know, I have that type of connection with her. She always has looked out for me, and I can always go to Alex whenever I feel at my lowest. But it's different to have that communication with a sibling. And me and her have gone through a lot in our life, and overcame a lot of shit and things that we weren't in control of. And when she told me that, and she gave me the news that she was coming out, I've always been supportive with her, and it's never been a question to me or anything within myself to look the other way at her when she told me the news that she was feeling feelings for Candace and things like that. Like, I never rub it in her face because that's not who I am as a human being. I support love no matter what form it looks like, and getting to know Candace over the years has been a blessing too, because she's also been very supportive, and she's just a dope person. And all you can ever want for a sibling is to find somebody that makes them happy and at peace. And I feel like they bring out the best out of each other. And I just miss them a lot. I really do. I miss both of them, and it's one of the things I'm shooting for. And hopefully, this project can help me get me closer to that. I had a change of heart with a lot of things when I was in Florida because when you're by yourself and in the situation I was, where the first month I was down in Florida, my job cut my hourly wages by 35%. So I was kind of in a bind money wise out of the gate, which is the main reason I'm back in Chicago. And it's a long story. I don't need to rehash the whole thing. I think I talked about it on the podcast already. But while I was down there, I had a change of heart. And, sometimes you get a signal from above where you know that things are not meant to be. A lot of the time over the last 5 years, I was like, it's got to be Florida. It's got to be Florida. Like, this would be my opportunity to get a job down there, start a new chapter in my life, do things on my own terms. I did a lot of that. And I was in a different environment. And I wasn't home. And I was on time with my rent. And I didn't ask my parents to help me pay rent while I was out there. I had that independence in me. And I had the opportunity to live in a different state and see what that's like and be exposed to a different culture and way of life. I had that, but something was missing. Obviously, the job search didn't work out for me, and that sucks. And it's something that I'm getting over with now. I feel like I'm in a better place now, but it's also like a gut check, like I worked so hard to make this move to Florida like a reality. But at the same time, it didn't work out. I did my due diligence. Shit didn't work. But each rejection that I got, the more and more I had time to sit and think about things. And I wanted to look into the future. Like, what's the next 10 years of my life's going to be like? I needed to start thinking big, and I needed to start thinking about what I really want, because I'm not getting any younger, but also I have a lot in front of me. So like, I don't expect my career job to pop up in 3 or 4 weeks. I think that's unrealistic. And I don't think I need to put myself in that type of mind frame. But when I was in Florida, I realized that I think where I need to be is in California, actually. And California was always the second option for me if I wanted to live outside of Chicago. I'm not in a rush to go to California as of yet. I need to get my stuff together financially, especially. But I think ultimately when I get that big break in my media career, like I'm gonna move to California. I think eventually I'm gonna live in California. I don't know when that's going to be, but I will move to California one day. And one of the big reasons for that is I want to be close to my sister. And I miss her so much. And they're both fans of the Valley, and my sister Alex reminds me a lot of Jasmine. In a lot of good ways. Just like her personality, how she doesn't sugarcoat shit, her sense of humor, and just very good and quick-witted. She just reminds me of Jasmine in a lot of ways. And I'm watching her like get these wedding dresses. She's trying on these wedding dresses, and I'm like I want to be there to support my sister in the day that her and Cass had like a big wedding or something like that down the road. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever get to experience that. I don't know if I don't know what, they haven't told me anything about what their future's going to look like, if they want to adopt and have kids. That conversation hasn't come up or anything like that. But I wonder about certain things. Are there things that I'm missing out that for the fact I'm not in California, like, what if I don't become an uncle one day? I think about those certain things, but also I try to keep it positive and remind myself that my sister's happy. So seeing the engagement party, and then they had this nice montage of Jasmine and Melissa together over the years, and her getting emotional in the confessionals about how much Melissa has meant to her in her relationship, and her mom and her sister there while they're trying wedding dresses, and Zach and Brittany were there to support Jasmine, which was really sweet given their long extended friendship with each other. One of the great things about this episode, the value is this is a showcase of one of the things that I like about Brittany the most is that she's there for her friends and she goes all out for them. She really does. The way she went about getting that engagement party together was awesome towards the end of the episode. Being there for Jasmine and for the wedding dresses in the beginning of the episode and being like her big cheerleader. Like, this is the things that I love about Brittany. Like, Brittany Cartwright is just a good-hearted person, you know. I have been critical of her this season, and I always have to put the disclaimer out that when I talk and review this show, I'm going off of what I see on my TV. I'm not going to go out of my way to make grand conclusions and defame any of these cast members' characters as human beings. We are talking about reality television, and we're talking about a form of entertainment. So I guess there's a certain way that I could implement my experience talking about wrestling into this space as well, because it's like, you know, yeah, say what you want about professional wrestling, it's scripted or whatever, but these are also human beings too. So I'm going to bring that same level of respect here. I may not agree with the decision that goes down on these shows. And, you know, like, I've been very critical of Brittany and Lala and the hypocritical nature of certain things that they said on this season. But these are human beings, and I want to show them empathy and grace. Like, I'm not going to come here and defame their character. I'm not going to come here and just shit on Lala as a human being. I think that's a mistake that a lot of my colleagues in the broad streets are making right now. And I know that a lot of people are upset at Danny Booko for the things that he's been doing and the way he's been carrying himself this season, and justifiably so. Like, I've been critical of Danny too. But it's also like, again, like I said on last week's episode, there's just a certain extent that I do not want to push. These are human beings with their real lives. It's not my place to come on here and tell Nia what to do with her family and her marriage. I've been critical of Danny in the way he is taught to his wife, mostly this season. That's been really the big root of my issue with Danny this season. A lot of people keep talking about the drinking and the denying and all that stuff. I'm past that shit. The way he speaks to his wife this season is unacceptable, sober or not. So, you know, I do believe that two things can be true. I could look at this as an entertainment show, and I could give my criticism when criticism is due. But again, these are human beings, and again, we're not going to be doing any character assassinations on the SUR Files. I'm not going to do it. I can't do it in my heart. That's not the human being that I am, and that's not how I want to carry myself. So, long story short, out of that soliloquy, bringing this back to Brittany, like, this is the stuff that I love about Brittany, and how sweet and pure of a person she is, and how she goes out for her friends and all these parties that she throws together. Hell, I bet you even at the same time, Brittany's just a hell of a person to hang out with. So, shout out to Brittany. I'm giving her a lot of praise on this episode because she deserves it. And that whole engagement party was very, very sweet. And the toast that Zach gave to Jasmine and Melissa was also emotional as well. And Zach and Jasmine have been best friends for a long time, and they used to be roommates with each other. And they shared, you know, being in the same community and the struggles that they had to deal with amongst that, and being accepted by people and stuff. Like, it's just powerful to see, and I'm glad that this was a showcase. This has been something that I've been wanting to see on this season, especially. It was a little bit more about Jasmine and Melissa's relationship, knowing for the fact that they have got married over the last 3 weeks or so. I think it's been 3 weeks since the wedding, either 3 weeks or almost a month. Anyways, the point that I'm trying to say here is, like, hey, basically, I'm glad that Jasmine and Melissa's relationship had a big spotlight on this episode because it was definitely deserved and long overdue. I felt like this episode especially needed to retrack and reset it a bit because obviously there was a lot of cathartic intention and arguments and just bad vibes coming out of that Mexico trip. Like, I had similar vibes of this episode as the same way I felt with the episode after they came back from the Hawaii trip after Kristen threatened to beat up Janet and called her a fan and everything. Like, I feel the same way with the vibe with this episode compared to the one from last season after the Hawaii trip. And you need these type of episodes on a season. Some people may look at this episode, The Valley, and call it like a filler episode or an episode that they're not going to want to watch again. I don't agree with that. This was a very good episode. I felt like it picked up the pace towards the end of it, but there was very emotional and deep conversations that happened on this episode, especially like Kristen and Luke, having the time to have that chat in their backyard, talking about where they are with their relationship and admitting that they need therapy, like couples therapy. And I've been saying on the podcast this whole season, I really commend how vulnerable and deep and honest Luke and Kristen have been for all of us this whole season. And I've learned a lot from watching their dynamics as a couple and things of what to do and what not to do. Like, this is one of the great things about reality television and shows like this. Like, you get to learn from people's decisions and the importance about communication and having these deep emotional chats with the one person that you don't want to have it at that time, whether it's your partner, your friend, or your enemy or whatever. That's one of the great things about Bravo and reality television, is because it is real. And I'm really big into tapping into deep human emotions and its emotional intelligence and having those nuanced conversations, because I describe myself as somebody who would like to, help people grow and be there for people who are going down or struggling with things mentally or need someone to talk to or advice or someone they could go to and vent to. Like, I like helping people. I like being there for people when they need like help and learning from these type of conversations. I listen to reels and watch reels about relationships, about God, about mental health. Like, I'm into that stuff. So what Kristen and Luke have shown us this whole season, it really should be commended, because it's raw, it's honest, it's uncomfortable at times. But I've learned a lot, and I'm not married. I don't have a kid, so I'm not in Luke's shoes. I'm not married. I don't have any kids, so I don't know what that process would be like to deal with your partner who's struggling with postpartum. But it's a learning experience. So again, I just want to give a big shout out to Kristen and Luke, because they also deserve it as well. And then, before we play the clip from the after show, we'll get my other thoughts in this episode of The Valley. Lala was very emotional for this episode for two main reasons. She revealed the death of her dog, Lily. And this was also sad, too, because I lost a dog a while back. Her name is Molly. She's a Pekingese. And she was my first dog. And I remember when she passed away, that really hit me really, really hard. And that's the double-edged sword of life. And even having pets is the fact that it's inevitable that you're going to lose them. And it sucks that it gets too short of a shelf life. I do listen to Lala's podcast. And I remember the episode where her and Easton were like bawling in tears about losing Lily. So have to remember those memories and seeing her like get emotional in the confessional and seeing how important Lily was to her. It's sad. It really is. And speaking of Lala, I know she's going through a lot right now, especially her mom. Gigi, Lisa just had hip surgery, and she's struggling right now. So I want to send my thoughts to Lala and her family. I think they deserve it, and they're going through a lot right now. Again, like I said earlier, I have been critical about Lala and some of the things she's been doing on the show this season, but she's a human being. I am a fan of Lala Kent, the person, and I support her podcast. And also, I'm a big supporter of Lala for the fact of her sobriety journey. For those who don't know, I live a straight edge lifestyle. And I don't look down on people who have struggled with alcohol or drugs or whatever the situation is. If anybody could heal themselves and find their way back to sobriety, things like that, that stuff needs to be commended and spotlighted. So I love seeing that. And 7 years of sobriety is no joke. And it's really cool to see that. So on the episode, they celebrated the 7 years of Lala, basically have 7 years of sobriety. So that was special to see as well. Before we get to what we usually do in the podcast, where I share the clip from the after show, I need to tee this up so I don't forget what to mention on the other side of the clip here, is that, like I said, there was a couple different emotions as I was watching this episode where I was like emotional and reflective in a good way of my sister, and seeing that through the lens of Jasmine and Melissa's engagement party, and sad with like what I just mentioned here with Lala and her losing her dog Lily and the 7 years of sobriety. The other emotion that I had watching this episode was confusement. And there's two things that I don't know where I'm either like scratching my head or it's just something's just still off to me. And I think there's a time and place for things, right? I'm a person where I feel like nuance and substance is very important to life, conversations, relationships, friendships, etc. I think context and nuance is very important. But I also think there's a time and place for everything. I think there's a time and place to have conversations. There's a time and place to bring up an issue. There's a time and place for a lot of things in life. And they're having this get together to celebrate Lala's sobriety, right? And Kristen's there, and Zach's there, and Michelle's there, and Janet, Jasmine's there, and Brittany. And Lala, of course. And in the middle of the conversation, they start reflecting on the Mexico trip. And then Michelle just blurs out of nowhere, "Oh, Zach, you act differently around Janet when you're around multiple people than you are with her when you're by yourself." And I heard that comment, and the way she was looking at Zach and the confessional that she had and what she said about him on the after show as well, where she revealed this week on the after show that her and that Jasmine and Zach unfollow her on social media. I wonder why, Michelle. I wonder why. Michelle has been very, very two-faced to me this season. I admire the vulnerable moments that she shared so far this season, but her after show snotty ass attitude and her two-faced comments in the confessionals, especially towards Lacey, have really turned me off this season. And I think she stirs the pot in the drama as much as Lala and Brittany do. And I know a lot of the heat goes back to Janet and the Janet of all. I think we don't need to rehash all that, but it makes sense why they're, like I said, this Mean Girls club. Like it's a club of like bruised egos, a lack of self-awareness, and just the endless need to gossip like we're in high school. And there's a time and place for everything. And the conversation prior to that comment that Michelle brought up was going good. Like, Janet and Zach were laughing with each other, and everything was going fine. And then it's like a rabbit hole. So Michelle makes the comment towards Zach. Then Lala starts questioning Kristen about why she won't give Janet any grace. And then Kristen just straight up, as any upfront, genuine person would do for somebody who feels like they've done them wrong and don't give a shit about them, she just said it up front. I don't trust you. I don't fuck with you, basically, is what she's saying to her. She said that Janet hurts people and she puts on a facade and she picks the wrong time to bring up topics and issues. And it didn't need to get to that point. I see a lot of people in the comment section on my TikTok page, and I shared a clip, and they're like, everybody's like, oh, see, this is why Stassi and Katie didn't want to be friends with Kristen anymore. These are totally different situations and totally different shows. I don't think that's a fair comparison. What I didn't like about this was the fact in the way Lala was speaking to Kristen, because they had a conversation prior to this get-together at Lala's house where she's reflecting on the whole argument with Danny and Nia, and Lala was like, oh, Nia looks like a linebacker in a prairie dress, and, you know, she don't understand why Kristen defends Danny and Nia and why she's friends with them. And it's just like these weird ultimatums and double standards that come out of Michelle and Lala's mouth this season, especially Brittany too. It's just like, are we in high school? Like, what are we doing here? And then the way she was talking to Kristen at the dinner, she's like, well, your reasoning doesn't make sense to me. And, oh, they live in the comments section. Lala, are we really going to be talking about people who live in comment sections and self-produce? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, Lala didn't self-produce herself the entire season 10 because she got cooked at the season 9 reunion where both Ariana and Sandoval and everybody else in the cast was rightfully cooking her at that reunion for her snotty attitude, given all the shitty shit she was dealing with Randall. I don't think Lala really understood the way she was acting towards the cast members. Because you got to remember, it's season 9. All her friends that she was gossip and talk shit with, right? Stassi, Jax, Bo, that whole squad, and Randall, all of them were gone. She was on an island on her own with a kid. And obviously what happened with Lala and Randall is unfortunate. And I have a lot of empathy for Lala. Don't mistake what I'm saying here. I'm not going to come here and give any personal shots towards Lala. But as a fan of the show, and I can't put a blind eye to double standards and hypocrisy. I'm sorry, I just can't. Her, like, saying it doesn't make sense to her why Kristen still wants to be friends with Dan and Nia. Lala, Kristen doesn't owe you a goddamn thing. She doesn't. And then, again, it's just the lack of self-awareness. Lala, you're still harping on this Danny and Nia stuff while you were thinking that you're above the entire cast because you're in a relationship with Randall and messed up a marriage. Now, fortunately enough, Lala and Amber got to a great place and they have the unlikely affair. And they're in a great situation now with co-parenting. And that's a blessing. But again, you can't deny the way you acted in certain situations. And I'm watching this whole season where she acts like she's the judge, jury, and executioner of all things men because she had this one relationship with Randall Edmond. I think that's bullshit. I'm sorry, I have to say it. I think it's bullshit. Yeah, has Danny fucked up this season? Yes. The way he speaks to his wife is unacceptable. And I've said this countless times on the podcast. But at the same time, Lala, you're starting these fights. You did it all season 10. I think honestly, Lala was more persistent about making sure that she was right about every guy that she hated in her life, more than really looking out for Ariana's feelings. Like her bragging over the fact that she had this big edit and her discovering Scandal, like she's some prime investigator, and like Lala should work for the FBI because she cracked the case of Sandoval and Raquel, as if fucking Stevie Wonder couldn't figure it out. It's just like, I don't want to hold people's past over their heads. I don't think that's fair. But at the same time, like, you can't be doing this double standard shit. You just can't. So they were getting into that and the arguments and stuff like that. So let's get into more and hear from the cast itself. Let's hear from the cast for this week's edition of the Valley After Show.
Finally, I literally looked at Janet and I was like, I'm not interested in a friendship with you.
I don't trust you for honestly. I don't think that I know you. I wonder if I know you.
Why, though? Why?
You like to hurt people, and you want to be mean to people, and that's not someone I was ever friends with.
As long as you guys realize this is why the group is shattered. I am trying.
What more do you need? What more do you have to say to me?
Yeah.
We sat down for 3 hours at Brittany's house.
My goal was go in calm, peaceful, level-headed, don't get angry. I talked to my therapist about this, and I hate, like, I don't want to be like, I'm in therapy. And I said, I have to have a conversation with a former friend. Every time we get together, it's fireworks. We're both like screaming at each other and like it gets really heated and I don't want to get there. My therapist was like, well, then don't get there. Stay calm.
She sat there like this and she spoke like really quietly and she was like, what is your issue with me?
I mean, it was another instance where I was like, I can't win. And I hate that term, but like if I blow up at her, then like I'm crazy, emotional, I'm a bitch. And if I don't, then I'm robotic. And there's no way that I could show up to that conversation and Kristen to leave being like, I am happy with how Janet handled herself.
I think the very first thing I said was, okay, I have a question. I'm going to open this up. Do you think Danny and Nia owe you anything? And that was my first question. And she was like, I'm not here to speak about them. And then I brought something up about Zach. And she's like, I also told Zach I wouldn't say anything about him, so I'm only here to talk about me and you. And I was like, well, that is me. These are my friends. And the way you treat my friends is a direct reflection on how you would treat me. And she kept trying to bring up like the past of like our old friendship. And I was like, that died so many years ago.
Kristen and I went south basically when she was going through her breakup with the boyfriend before Luke. I very much wanted to be there for her. But it was really back and forth and up and down a lot. So it would sort of be like, she would come over to my house and be like crying about this guy and like he did X, Y, and Z. And I'd be like, you don't deserve that. Why don't you come stay with me tonight? She's like, I'm done with him. I'm breaking up.
So
then
crazy.
I just wouldn't hear from her for like 2 days. And all of a sudden she'd be posting like Man Crush Monday and it's the boyfriend. And I just started noticing it was like around the time Jason and I got engaged and married. I was talking to her all day, every day for hours at a time. And stepping away from like work and Jason and our life to be there for her, which is important to me as a friend. And I felt like she didn't really appreciate it. But it was also such an important time for me in my life. Like she was staying at my house while I was on my honeymoon because she was moving out from the boyfriend's house. And I didn't like how she treated my home while I was gone. There was a lot like dog poop and vomit and she drank a bunch of my wine that was for work. So I was like, hey, I don't love this. And she's like, I would never disrespect your home. And I was like, well, you kind of did. I don't know. It felt like took advantage of the situation. And all I wanted her to do was be like, I'm sorry. And that was kind of the final straw for me. I just was like, I have to put a boundary up. As soon as I put a boundary up, she was like, you're my enemy.
There's no growth. There's no evolution. And even by the end of that conversation, she started talking about Zach again. Like she can't help herself. And I explained to her that I'm seeing a new version of her.
Number 3 or 4.
Kristen is also seeing me at a different stage in life than I've ever been. And as much as I hate when people say like I used my pregnancy as a weapon. When you're pregnant, you're a different person. Kristen, you were also different when you were pregnant. We all are. But I also was seeing somebody in that moment that I had never seen before. You're going after Michelle.
She had a boyfriend for a year. Oh, there we all said it.
For what? What did Michelle do to you? And the only thing I could think was like, this is what I've heard like crazy Kristen is. So I threw that in her face.
I'm done with crazy Kristen. I'm done.
That's cute.
And that was mean, and I shouldn't have done that. But like, in the same way, I feel like we gave Kristen grace when she was pregnant and postpartum. Give me a little grace too.
With a friend like her, who needs enemies? Like, no, thank you. I'm good.
You know, Jasmine went through many ups and downs finding her person, and now she has found the right person.
Everyone welcome the beautiful bride-to-be!
The engagement party was beautiful. Thank God Brittany did this. You know, it was finally nice to celebrate us with my friends.
It's so incredible how two people can come together and just allow the other person to be exactly who they are. Not once have I seen either of them try to correct a behavior, try to stifle the other one.
Well, Jasmine can be very feisty. We all know that.
Yes.
And Melissa is so chill. There's been a couple of times where, like, when Jasmine's getting work up, I'll see Melissa, like, calm down. You're okay.
He really made it seem like Michelle was like a bad guy. That's why I was like, what? It didn't make sense to me.
You don't need to say anything else. You go in there and drink and have fun.
I just hate that Zach's so, you need clients. Shut the up.
But don't you notice how, like, she doesn't try to stifle the feisty?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to look at this group and go, this group acts from emotion most of the time.
Yeah.
She's able to, like, let Jasmine be who she is, let all of us be who we are, while also pulling into play logic.
Yeah, yeah.
Which some of us
We don't
forget.
know. We don't know.
What's next for you and Melissa? You just moved out of West Hollywood.
I know.
Abandoned.
I said I would never do that.
Abandon me.
I'm a Valley girl now, officially. I like the neighborhood. It's nice to come outside and see everybody walking their dogs. It's like, hee cute.
And you have a dog.
Yes, we have a baby
Little
Miso. She's so freaking cute. I swear this is like the smartest dog ever. She's so sweet and so kind and like loves you. And Melissa needed this dog because she was threatening me for like years. It's like we travel too much, and now look, we don't even travel now because you have a dog. Can't go anywhere. My dream, I always want to raise my kids in Jersey because I'm a Jersey girl and I think it's great. But I've been here for almost over 10 years. Like, oh God, I love it here. Like, this is my life. My friends, these are my family. Like, my parents live in North Carolina now. All I have in Jersey is my brother and Melissa's family. Her family is so big and like, she wants to, you know, be around them. So we had some little hiccups with like disagreements. But I think once our kids hit like 6 or something, then we might have to reevaluate where we're gonna go.
Kids are in the future?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, they're...
I'm trying to get pregnant now. I would have 4 kids probably right now if she can get me pregnant. Like, no lie. But we haven't like bought the sperm. But we're going to soon. We think Zach would be honestly quality, be a great donor.
Quality sperm.
But I just don't want to have to deal with a person in my life that's like, I'm dealing with on a daily basis.
Just in case.
That's like, God forbid you hit your head again, and then you're like, I want to take this baby, and you take me to court. And then technically you could get rights. So I don't want to deal with that.
I don't think we'll have to worry about that, but...
You don't know.
So Zach's social media comes up.
It's all we talked about.
Really?
Like, unfollowed. But did you did it and you blocked her? Did you unblock her?
At the airport on the way home, they had a funny and friendly banter.
Yeah.
Shorts was like, let's flip a coin, and if it lands on heads, like, you'll follow.
Because I kept saying no. Because it won.
Then we get home, and Zach hits the unfollow button again.
Got it. I was literally like, what grade am I in right now?
Mm-hmm. It's their favorite thing to do. The follow, unfollow, I don't get it.
Well, it's done now. I won't make the mistake ever again.
It's hard to nail Zach down, right? Like, I wish that they would just make up and be friends and be fine and move forward.
He was going back and forth a lot between, am I okay with Janet? I'm unfollowing her tomorrow. I followed her today. I'm following her tomorrow. We had like that whole dinner at Tom Tom where we met Kiana for the first time, and Zach and Janet were in a group chat together, and they were like playing back and forth, and it seemed like things were moving in the right direction, and then it just was like 2 steps forward, 4 steps back, like constantly, you know?
He does still have, you know, like Kristen to answer to some extent, and Kristen and Janet are, maybe one day they'll be good, but they're not good right now. So I think he feels torn.
Are you guys friends?
Best friends.
I can feel Kristen's death stare like the eye of Siren.
He told me that Janet followed him. I was like, good for you. Like, awesome. Like, I don't care if it has anything to do with her. So, good for you. Have fun. Enjoy.
Yeah, I probably said it would like ruin his algorithm, so he was like, ah! Yeah, unfollow.
I think we've all been in a situation like that before, and I feel for him in that. But, you know, he's a grown-ass man. He just needs to do his own thing and handle his business, and if he makes up with somebody, he should stick with it. And same for Janet.
I did it specifically because I never wanted to follow you in the first place.
He was being
I
petty.
was like, well, if I'm going to have to because I'm being put on the spot, I'll do it. But then I'm going to do what I want to do. It's not flip-floppy. It's just that is the situation that was presented to me, and that is how I acted.
He's not a flip-flopper. Zach is not a flip-flopper. It's just like in the moment, he's like having a little breakthrough with Janet, which is sweet. They're laughing and joking, but then gets like riled up and sees like why one of his best friends is upset with her.
We all have a lot of stuff on our plate. Like, let's just like be happy together.
Yeah.
You know she unfollowed me.
Who did?
Jasmine and Zach, right?
I don't know when, but they unfollowed me. And I saw that Lala reposted a picture that she did a post yesterday, and she tagged everybody minus me. I was like, so do you have... I'm like, does she have a problem with me? I'm confused. I'm really confused on who has a problem with me and who doesn't.
Wait, I'm confused.
Zach and Jasmine don't follow me anymore.
They recently unfollowed you.
Like in the last couple months.
I think. But I don't follow these things, so I don't really know.
I blame Brandon for a lot of it. Like, I think he got
But she didn't
so
need to treat me
involved.
like that either.
Michelle is so dumb. She don't have street smarts. You were in the car saying that I was fake and that...
I didn't say you were fake.
Wait, Brandon said that? I agree, but when you, to play devil's advocate, when somebody comes up to you and like, well, I had to have your back and I had to defend you, she's like, wait, what? Like...
But I'm telling her, calm down.
Yeah, but in her mind, she's thinking, well, they just like, apparently were talking shit about me and they were like doing this and that. And like, because she couldn't see the conversation, she didn't know what you guys were saying or how bad it was.
She wasn't chilling out for a second.
Yeah.
Case in point, as I've been saying this whole episode, Michelle just can't read the room, and she really has struggled with self-awareness this season. She really has. Oh, man. There was other things that I do want to mention here as we're going to wrap up this week's edition of the SUR Files. I'd be remiss without talking about the title of this, and the reason this episode is called Balls Voyage. I'm not going to get into much detail. Basically, Danny got a vasectomy on this week's episode while Nia was out of town judging Miss USA, former Miss USA, by the way. A shout out to Nia. And this is talked about that this is going to happen for a while. I do find it funny that they keep the continuity with the fact that every time Danny or Zach need to go to the doctor for like a male like checkup, they're always there together. So I found that funny from a continuity standpoint. So that part of it was funny. And then they had to get together at Danny's house before the vasectomy. And Danny was, going off about how Lala, like I've been saying on this episode, like she thinks she walks around like her shit don't stink, and she ignores her track record with things. And this is one of the part of things where I felt confused with this episode. I'm just like with Schwartz now. Schwartz is like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this and blah 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 blah, and defending Janet. I don't think that Jesse was going out of his way to diminish what Janet confessed on the episode last week. I don't think he was doing that at all. If you want to say that Danny was doing that at the time, fine, or whatever. But I don't think Jesse was trying to minimize that whole situation on. But you had that boys chat, right? And then we go to Jasmine and Melissa's party. By the way, shout out to Lacey. Again, just great lines as always. She was like, hey, look at me. I got a good joke. And she's like, made the joke about the linen suits and like, he's husband material. I thought that was pretty funny. And Jesse and Lacey had this interesting interaction with Janet. And Janet's like, hey, Jesse, like, me and Lacey had a really good time in Mexico, and she brings out the best in you. And you hear Jesse in the confessional saying, like, he's glad that things are getting in a better place with Lacey and the group. And at the same time, it's like you're hearing these nice things that Janet's saying, and she's not trying to be mean or whatever, or manipulative or whatever. But the word that he chose here was strategic. And when he said that, I had to agree with him. Why are you bringing that up now? I think that Janet's a good person. I really do. I think I would be friends with Janet in real life, to be honest with you. I think I've come on here and said that I relate with Jasmine, the feeling with where you're like misunderstood. And I think, being isolated and stuff like that and feeling alone. I felt that, and I relate with that with Janet, and I think that she's like served her penance when it comes to like the backlash for how she performed on that reunion last season. I thought she rightfully deserved the criticism she got at the reunion, but again, just like with Tom Sandoval, she didn't commit a crime for having opinions that didn't lie with everybody else. So, like, again, I'm not going to come in here and shit talk Janet as a human being. I think Janet's a good person. I think there's time and place where she lacks self-awareness, and there's a time and place to say things. And I think to the extent that she's strategic, Michelle's strategic. I think Brittany's been strategic this season, and especially Lala has been strategic this season. And again, I may be a homer because he's a Taurus and we share like-minded minds, but I think Jesse has been the MVP of the season. I really do. Like, I feel like he's been the most level-headed one out of this whole friend group when it comes to this whole Danny, Nia versus Lala, Janet situation. I really do. So I hope that Janet is accepting of Lacey, because Lacey's fucking awesome. She's such a light and such a bright spot on this whole season of the Valley, where there's really not a general reason to have anything negative to say about her, unless you want to be catty and bitter and petty like Michelle's been this season towards Lacey. But that's another topic for another time. Like, look, I don't want to say that conversation with Janet and Jesse towards the end of this episode was disingenuous. I do think he appreciates where she's coming from. And I do think that her and Lacey could get in a good place. And I think Lacey should be accepted by the whole group, honestly, because she's, again, like I said, she's a dope-ass person. But you just never know. You never know. But on that note, we're going to put a ribbon in the bow on this week's edition of The Valley, episode 16, Balls Voyage. T's and P's to the nether regions of Danny Booko. There will not be 5 under 5. There won't be any 4 under 4. Or how about one more? That is done. Finito. Done. And that's that. That's the only thing else that I'll talk about that when it comes to that's concerned in the world of Buko Mountain. I will say the ball busting that the boys had towards Danny when they got that get together the day before was fucking hilarious. Especially Luke and Jesse. They had the perfect lines towards Danny. It was just tremendous. Danny was like, "Don't you dare disgrace Buko Mountain like that." that was just funny guy humor there. So good shit there. But on that note, we're gonna put a ribbon on the bow this week's edition of the SUR Files. It's been a very in-depth and emotional conversation with you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know how you guys feel about the podcast and how you feel about this week's episode of The Valley as well. Hit me up in the comment section down below on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the like button and smash the subscribe button anywhere you get your podcast from. I'm on Instagram at Joshie Lopez Music and at the SUR Files. Check us out on TikTok at SUR Files, SUR Files. And don't forget the podcast comes to you free of charge anywhere you get your podcast from. The home of the SUR Files is Odyssey. hit me up on X if you like at the Hoots Podcast. And just hit me up over the weekend on social media. Type in the SUR Files. You'll know where to find me from there. And don't forget, folks, be the authentic product that is yourself. And remember, nobody in this life dictates the pace of your life but yourself, but the man upstairs. And I'd like to send my thoughts and I want to send my condolences to Lala's family for the passing of her dog Lily. So this episode of the SUR Files is in dedication of Lala's dog Lily. I don't know. This has been episode 18 of the SUR Files. What happens in the valley doesn't stay in the valley, but it stays in the SUR Files. Talk to you next week. Peace.